Rendering the interior of a gem realistically can be quite expensive for the GPU. To do it properly, it would be necessary to rely on techniques such as ray tracing, which means simulating multiple light interactions inside the material, including internal reflections, refractions, and scattering. However, we can approximate this behavior much more efficiently by using textures, like the gem you see on a screen. The sense of depth is achieved through the view vector in tangent space, which allows us to distort the texture based on the camera angle. For color, we can also rely on a few shader techniques, along with a bit of creativity to achieve a convincing visual result that remains efficient enough for real-time games. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode. Today we will recreate this gem in Godot using GDSL. To begin, we will implement a few base properties that will help us visualize each stage of the FX development. Let's begin with a quick review of the gem. As you can see, we are working with a simple geometric shape that you can easily create in tools like Maya or Blender. However, the most important aspect here is the UV coordinates. To make the depth effect work correctly, we need to ensure that the UV projection is planar. Why does this matter? Because we'll apply the view vector directly to the UVs, and we need the perceived depth to follow the same direction as the projection. The texture also plays a key role. In this case, I created a seamless grayscale texture, which allows it to tile infinitely and generate the pattern needed to simulate the interior of the gem. Since we are working in linear space, I exported the texture without sRGB. Inside Godot, I created a new folder called Episode 2, where I've included both the gem in FBX format and the texture we just reviewed. What I'm going to do now is create a shader material named Gem Surface and then a shader with the same name. Setting up the scene to visualize the changes is quite straightforward. We start by dragging the 3D object into the scene, in my case, gem shape. Since this is an FBX file, the first step is to select Make Local. This allows us to access the material override property under geometry. We can now assign the gem surface to the object and then link the shader to that material. With this in place, we are ready to start developing the effect. The first step is to define a few properties that we'll use throughout the process. I'll start by declaring a texture called Pattern, which I'll use to assign the reflection pattern texture to the gem. Then I'll declare a property called Offset, which controls how much depth we apply to the view vector to simulate the internal reflections of the gem. I'll also declare a property called Pin Amount. This allows us to control the amount of iridescence on the surface. In addition, I'll define three colors: base color, mid color, and high color. Since we are working with a grayscale texture, we'll use these colors to map different value ranges within that texture. By the way, did you know that the rendering mode selection option has a direct impact on both performance and visual quality? This is because it defines how graphics are processed and which rendering API is used. You can find this and much more in the Godot Shaders Bible. This book includes over 360 pages of shader content, explained in a clear step-by-step manner, covering much of the knowledge you need to get started as a technical artist. If you decide to get a copy, you will also be directly supporting this channel. This allows me to continue creating free content for the community while also working on new books. Some of the topics I plan to cover in the future include compute shaders, VFX and particle systems, advanced post-processing, and more. I'll leave a link to the book in the description, along with a coupon so you can get it at a discounted price. The files used in this video are also included as part of the book package. Before we continue, we'll set the shader's render mode to diffuse tune, so we can achieve a more stylized result. We will also make sure to assign the reflection pattern texture to the pattern property from the inspector. We can go now to the fragment method and declare a variable called albedo, which will project the texture onto the surface of the gem. For now, this texture doesn't show any sense of depth. To solve that, we'll implement the view vector in tangent space. To do this, we need to work with the tangent, the binormal, and the normal. In essence, we will calculate the dot product between the view vector and each of these vectors. With these values, we can build a new 3-dimensional vector that represents the view direction in tangent space. It's important to normalize this vector so the effect remains consistent regardless of the camera's distance from the object. Now, the next step is to add the view_ts variable to the UV coordinates of the albedo texture. However, we also need to include the offset property in this operation. For that reason, I'll declare two new vectors, UV_tangent offset and UV_pin offset. In essence, both vectors serve the same purpose. They shift the UV coordinates based on the view vector. However, the second applies only 50% of the displacement. This small variation allows us to simulate both the internal reflections and a subtle iridescence effect. If we apply UV_tangent offset to the UV coordinates of albedo and adjust the values of the offset property from the inspector, we can observe how the texture begins to produce a sense of depth. Quite interesting, right? Now, gems are known for their multiple internal reflections. In our case, we can reuse the same grayscale pattern to distort the UV coordinates once again based on the view direction, which reinforces the visual complexity of the effect. To achieve this effect, I'll do the following. First, I'll declare a new variable called t. We'll calculate this variable in a way similar to albedo, with the difference that we will use only its red channel. Then I'll create a 2-dimensional vector called UV_distorted, where I'll subtract UV_tangent offset from the value of t. We will then use this new vector as the UV coordinates to sample the texture again in albedo. If we move the camera in the scene now, we will see an effect that simulates the gem's internal reflections. However, because of texture compression, some visual artifacts may appear. To fix this, we only need to select the texture in the file system and change its compression mode to lossless. The next step is to introduce color. To do this, we'll replace the grayscale values with the tones we previously defined as properties. We'll apply base color to the dark values, mid color to the mid tones, and high color to the white values. To carry out this process, we can remap the texture values by using linear interpolations. To do this, I'll create two new variables, tab and tbc. The first allows us to map the values between the black and gray ranges, while the second covers the range between gray and white. We can visualize this behavior easily in Desmos. In this case, we use X to represent the grayscale range, while the clamp function defines the intervals. Then TAB shows in blue and TBC shows in red illustrate how the values are redistributed within each range. With these values defined, we can now interpolate between the colors. To do that, I'll declare two new vectors, color AB and color BC, and assign the corresponding colors to each range. Finally, we multiply the result by albedo. At this point, the effect is starting to take shape. However, we can still improve it further. What I'm going to do now is introduce a blending mode function called pinlight. This function is a GDS cell adaptation based on its equivalent in shader graph, so it should produce the same result in Unity in case you are using it. We can now create the iridescence effect. To do this, I'll start by declaring a new 3-dimensional vector called pin pattern. Just like albedo, it will sample the pattern texture, but this time we will use the UV coordinates offset by UV_pin offset. Then I'll declare another 3-dimensional vector called pin color, which will simulate the iridescence inside the gem. Finally, we will multiply this result by the pin amount property. To preview this effect, we can temporarily assign pin color to albedo. If we adjust the pin amount value from the inspector and move the camera, we'll see the colors shift dynamically inside the gem. The next step is to combine this result with the base color by using the blending mode we defined earlier. To do that, I'll define a new vector called blend and pass both the albedo color and the pin color into it. Looks great, right? To To finish the shader, we can add a few specular adjustments and a rim effect, which you can tweak freely depending on the style you want to achieve. And with that, we have completed the effect. What do you think of the result? If there is a specific effect you would like to see in the next video, leave it in the comments. Also, remember that once the channel reaches 1000 subscribers, we will be giving away an official copy of the Godot Shaders Bible, so don't forget to share the channel. See you in the next episode.